I'm okay. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Want to share some of yourself?
Okay. Okay, we're going to learn the Mimer of Vasu Lagani. It has, Mimer is divided into four. First 5 paragraphs were supposed to be learned on the 10th of Shvat, the actual day that the previous Rebbe passed away. As I mentioned in last week, this week actually, Tuesday, which has to do with the fact that his grandmother, Rebbe Rivka, the wife of the fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rebbe Marash, passed away on Yud Shvat. In honor of her anniversary of her passing, he ordered that the mimer Basi Lagani. Now, Basi Lagani is actually a mimer that was said by the previous Rebbe 101 years ago, in the year Tuf Reish Pei Gimel. So that would be in 1923. There, however, the mimer was said only in. There were 2 Maimarim that included everything. In the year 1950, previous Rebbe, several days before his passing, ordered that the Maimer Basi Lagani, thank you, should be learned on the actual day, 5 paragraphs. A second Maimer to be learned on the day of his mother's passing, the 13th of Shvat. Each mimer had 5 paragraphs. So the first one had 5, the second one had 5. The third segment of Purim, the fourth segment of the 5 paragraphs should be learned on the day of his father's passing, the second day of Nisan. So 1, Yud Shvat, Yud Gimel Shvat, Purim, and Beis Nisan. 5, 5, 5, 5, 20 paragraphs. The Rebbe, when the Rebbe assumed the mantle of leadership in 1951, was on Yud Shvat, actually Yud Shvat. The Rebbe devoted every year an explanation, commentary on one of those paragraphs. So the first year of the Rebbe's leadership, he explained the first paragraph of the 20. in 1952, the second year, touching Yud Beis, second paragraph, and so on and so forth. 1970 was a very exciting year. The Rebbe completed the first cycle of all the 20 paragraphs. And it continued 71 until 90, second cycle of 20 paragraphs. I want to just mention before we start the mimer something that I talked about on Tuesday. I forgot to mention it. We mentioned on Tuesday that the previous Rebbe's first mimer at the end talks about how precious time is. Don't delay. You never know when your time to go is. And even if you would know exactly how long you're going to live, it's never good to push off, to postpone mitzvahs. Things that are positive, don't ever push it. Don't push it off. And when a person is happy, you're full of life and zeal, you usually run to do things that are, you don't usually push things off. When you're a little bit on the, lazy side, or you procrastinate, that's when you usually like to put things off for later. The word Yitzchak, his second name, Yitzchak, represents joy. Sarah, his wife, Sarah Imenu, called her first son Yitzchak, or her first son, actually, his one and only son, Yitzchak, by that name because Yitzchak represents laughter, joy. And that's part of the previous Rebbe's name. So the end of the first mimer, and ends are very important in Judaism. Bottom line. The bottom line of the first 5 paragraphs, the end of the 5th paragraph, talks about how precious time is. So I wanted to add that this week's parsha talks about matzah. It says, guard the matzahs from becoming chametz. So the Rashi brings from a medrash that the word matzos is spelled exactly the same as the word mitzvos, except that there's a vowel difference. Matzos, mem, tzadik, vav, saf, mitzvos, same letters, just the vowels are different. Matzos, mitzvos, which means that just like you're not allowed to leave the chametz, leave the matzah to rise, because then it'll become chametz, you have to also guard your mitzvah and not let it become chametz, which means if you procrastinate, you delay, just like when it comes to the matzah, if you let it more than 18 minutes, it's going to rise. It'll become chametz. The mitzvah should also be done with zeal. Don't delay, don't waste time. Welcome to the restaurant. Kol Yados kitchen. So again, do not delay. Mitzvah comes your way, grab it. Do not waste time. Just like matzah, if you waste time and you let the dough rise, it's no longer matzah, it becomes chametz. If you let the mitzvahs wait, we're doing a mitzvah, it can cause arrogance. You become, even if you're thinking, do it later, it can cause, just like chametz represents rising, arrogance, delaying a mitzvah can also cause self-centeredness. Doing it right away when you don't really want to do it brings bittul, self-control, self-discipline. Again, the word mitzvahs and matzahs are spelled the same. Just like you're not allowed to have a matzah rise by leaving the dough not worked on, not touched, it's going to become chametz automatically. The same thing with the mitzvahs. So my brother had an interesting insight. The actual wording of the medrash is mitzvah habol liyodcha, a mitzvah that comes to your hand. Why is come to your hand? Why the focus on the hand? Don't delay it. But it says mitzvah habol liyodcha, mitzvah that comes to your hand, comes your way, comes habol liyodcha, comes to your yad. My brother, in one of his lectures, said, perhaps we can say like this: what happens if you don't want to do a mitzvah right away, not because you're lazy or you want to procrastinate, you're not in the mood, but you want to understand the beauty of the mitzvah before you do it? That doesn't sound too bad. So even if that's your excuse, not a good enough excuse. Yad, if you can do the mitzvah, forget about the mind. Do it right away, and then you could learn about it later on, because the actual mitzvah is done will bring you to a higher level and all your meditation will be. So even when the mitzvah is not delayed because of laziness, but rather because of wanting to understand, I want to have a geschmack, I want to have a feeling Sounds like a pretty good motive. But if it's bal yad, if it's coming to your hand, you're able to actually do the mitzvah, do it right away. We're not discussing a mitzvah that can be done. Talk about a mitzvah that if you don't do it right now, you might miss up on it altogether. So you were called to visit the sick, or nicham avelim, whatever, a mitzvah you can, and they need you. You'll say, not now, maybe later, and you might miss up on the mitzvah. But if I learn about it, I'll understand, I'll appreciate it more for the future. No. Any mitzvah that comes to your hand, that you can actually do it in Maisa, that's more important than all your, meditation of how wonderful this mitzvah is. That should come later. Again, we're not discussing a case where a person has all the time. You want to sit down and maybe learn a mimer about a certain mitzvah and then do it. We're discussing that you might lose the opportunity to do the mitzvah. But I want to understand what I'm doing first. No, do it, and then you'll understand. Okay, now, I wrote on the board over there, the reason why what I wrote on the board is the following. Let's take the first line of the mimer, Basi Lagani. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention to you that tonight and tomorrow, in 770, in all the shuls, there will be somebody who will, by heart, recite the first two paragraphs of the mimer. Tomorrow morning, after Chakras, after Musaf, the next two. And Mincha, the fifth one. There's only 5 paragraphs in the first mimer, Basi Lagani. So it will be reviewed by some Baal Peh, by heart. Tonight, after Ma'ariv, 2 of them. Tomorrow morning, number 2, and tomorrow afternoon, Mincha, after Mincha, the fifth and final paragraph. So being that today is Friday and tomorrow is Shabbos, and on Shabbos we don't have Seder, so I was told, let's learn the mimer that's going to be recited by all the shuls in Crown Heights and all over the world by heart, but we're not going to do it by heart, we'll do it inside. Okay, so the mimer begins with a famous quote, and we see the connection to women over here. Again, I mentioned before that this mimer was said in the honor of the yard site of his grandmother, a woman. And the next mimer in honor of his mother's yard site. So we're talking about women over here. Basi Lagani Achaisi Kala. Focus on a Kala. Basi Lagani Achaisi Kala. I've come to my garden. This is a verse in Shir Hashirim, Song of Songs, chapter 5 at the very beginning. Hashem says, Basi, I have come Lagani to my garden, to my orchard. And it's my garden, not a garden, but my garden. And a garden is a place of pleasure. So right when the world was created, Hashem said, when the Mishkan was built, Hashem says, it's not new. I'm not a first time here. I've been here before when the world was created. I'm coming back. Achoisi, my sister, Kala, my bride. The idea is that God considers the Jewish people close for two reasons. Number one, we have a natural closeness, brothers and sister closeness. Number two, the passion that a chassan has to a Kala. They never knew each other, and the passion is different than a brother to a sister. Both of them exist by God and the Jewish people. The east of the Medrash Rabbah, and it states in the Medrash on this verse in Shir Hashirim b'Mekomo, meaning on the actual pasuk. There are Medrashim elsewhere. There are different Medrashim throughout Chumash on these words of Shir Hashirim. But the Mimer says, I want you to look at the Medrash b'Mekomo on the actual words of Basi Lagani. And what I wrote on the board there is, it's interesting why the Mimer focuses on, look at the Medrash in Shir Hashirim. I know the same Medrash is all found elsewhere. Focus on the Medrash, on the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, chapter 5, verse 1, because over there, guess what? On the board it says, who's the author of this Medrash? So it says, it says, Rabbi Menachem, sounds familiar, that name. Rabbi Menachem, the son-in-law of Rabbi Elazar bar Avuna, Elazar, the son of Avuna, B'Shem Rav Shimon ben Yoseina, sounds like Yosef, Yoseina. So it's the son-in-law. Rabbi Menachem was the son-in-law of some great rabbi. But only in the Medrash and Shir Hashirim do you have the name of the other times in Chumash where it talks about the same exact pasuk. It doesn't mention the name of the author, it just says Basi Lagani, and does not say. So the Rebbe says, I want you to look up the exact location on the verse in Shir Hashirim seems like he's hinting to the name Menachem over there. Interestingly, if you're into gematrias, Bim Como, the word Bim Como, Beis, Mem, Kuf, Vav, Mem, Vav, is 194. If you add up, Beis is 2. If you add up, trust me, it's 194. So the Rebbe's middle name, Mendel, is 194. So you have Menachem as the author of this medrash. You have the Rebbe's middle name hinted in the gematria of the word Bim Como. Bim Como equals Mendel. So what does it say in the medrash? Lagan ein ksivkan. It doesn't say I came to a garden, but rather Ela legani liganuni. I've come to my garden, and my garden also represents the connection to the word Genuni. Gani with the extra yud sounds like Genuni. Actually, it's not Genuni, it's Gonini. But everyone says Genuni for some reason. I don't know why. What is it? What is Genuni? A bridal chamber, a place of intimacy, where the husband actually comes into the Kala's bridal chamber. God is saying, I've come to the Jewish people's bridal chamber, a very intimate place, private place. And I'm coming to a place where I was before, not new. Do not think that when the Mishkan was built, it's the first time Hashem is down here in this world. To a place where my utmost divine presence was there at first. The Iker Shechina, and we say, you see in the English here, he says that the Iker, when it says Iker Shechina, you learn the mimer, Bujeski taught you the mimer of 5751. The Rebbe's first mimer, there the Rebbe focuses on the word Iker. Iker means not just the divine presence, but the source of the divine presence on the highest levels. The Iker Shechina, most primary level of divine presence, was meant to be down here in this world, not in the worlds above, but in this world. What happened? Through the first sin, the sin of the Eitz Hadas, which is the primary sin, the source of all other sins. If not for that sin, we wouldn't be able to sin, and sin would be impossible. What opened the floodgates, you can say, or the pathway for people to do wrong was the first sin. The Shechina departed from earth to the first heaven. There are 7 heavens. And the Shechina departed, didn't mean depart, God is everywhere, but in terms of our awareness, it departed from earth down here to the first heaven, of the 7, which is the most important departure. Once it's not here, it's not here. The fact that it goes further and further away is not as important as the initial departure. And through the sins of Cain, who killed his brother, and through Enosh, another generation of idolaters. Through the second and third generation, Shechina departed from the first Rakia to the second through Cain, and from the second to the third through Enosh. Now he skips. In a different mimer, it says there were 7 generations of sinners. Who knows what they are? You know, Cain, Adam, is 1, Cain is 2, Parshas Noach. That's right, the Mabul. And again in Parshas, at the end of Parshas Noach, what happened again? Another bunch of sinners. The Tower of Babel, that's number 5. And there are 2 more. In Parshas Vayera, Sdom, the wonderful people of Sdom. And the final departure to the 7th heaven, the Egyptians living in the time of Avraham Avinu. It's not quoted in this mimer, it skips. It just goes 1, 2, 3, and it goes to the 7th. Yeah, no, it doesn't even mention, it just goes 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Sorry. Yeah, then it stops over there. It does not mention the Tower of Babel, does not mention Sdom, it does not mention the Egyptians who lived in the time of Avraham Avinu. Okay, the East of the Medrash Rabbah, and as stated in the Medrash Rabbah on the verse, Ala Pasuk, Vayishmas Kol Havaya Elokim Mishala Bagon. It's a Pasuk in Chumash in Brachos, where it says, and he heard the voice of Hashem, Mishalech Bagan, referring to Adam. He heard the voice of God, who's called Havaya Elokim, Mishalech, traveling, moving on in the garden. But it says Mishalech. Amar Rabbi Abbas, or Rabbi Abbas says on page 6, Mahalech ein ksivkan. Doesn't say he's going. ela mishalech, but rather mishalech. What's mishalech? Kapitz ve'ozil, kapitz ve'ozil. You could be going and walking somewhere, just an action describing what you're doing. Then it could be a person who you see is not restful, is a state of something's going on in that person's life. Why are you running? It's describing the internal it's hard to use these words. Confusion, not confusion. Lack of restlessness, you could say. It's not describing what you're doing, it's describing your mood, what's going on internally. So Malech refers to a person who is not restful. He's always on the move. Kapitz ve'ozil, mean the Shechina, the divine presence, was continuously, little by little, jumping away from us. Kapitz means to jump, to skip, ve'ozil, and going. Kapitz ve'ozil, every generation it went further and further and further. It was an emotion of leaving the world, all these 7 generations. Afterwards, the tzaddikim arose. And they by little brought the Shechina generation one step closer to earth. Avram was the first one. Zachar, he merited and he brought the Shechina down, Mirakia Zayin Leva, from the 7th Rakia, the 7th heaven, to the 6th. The Yitzchak Yitzchak took the Shechina down one more level through his avoda, from the 6th level to the 5th, until we reach Moshe. Shehu Hashvi, and Bekol Hashvi Chavim, and all 7s are dear. So who's after Avram and Yitzchak? We have Yaakov. Then goes Levi. It's not mentioned here, but it's mentioned in another mimer. Then Kahas. Levi had a son, Kahas, who's the father of Amram, Moshe Rabbeinu's father. So Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, 3, Levi, 4, Kahas, 5, Amram, 6, Moshe, 7. 7 generations. And when Moshe Rabbeinu lived, he was the one that brought the Shechina back down to earth with the building of a Mishkan, just as it was when Hashem created the world. Ki Moshe hu Hashvi, he's the 7th, and all 7s are dear. We know that 7s are dear. Shabbos is the 7th day of the week. Tishrei is the 7th month of the year, has the most holidays. Shemitah is sabbatical year, and so on and so forth. And then we have a 7th generation of great tzaddikim. And we also know our generation, the generation of the Rebbe, when he said this mimer, was the 7th generation. Just by the way, Anand Lubavitcher, someone who was not very favorable to Chabad, when he saw this first mimer, he said, he's talking about himself. He thinks he's Mashiach. This is an outsider saying that. This mimer is a clear indication what he thinks about himself. Just tell me. Because it never says, L'chol hashvi and chavivim, all 7s are dear, and the 7th one will bring the Geula. Rebbe kept saying the generation, but we know a generation is headed by the leader of a generation. The Chol Hashvi and all 7s are special. Okay. There's a lot to talk about, but we'll skip. We'll go a little further. The Chol Hashvi and Chavivim, the Haridu Lemata Ba'aretz, and they caused the Shechina to descend from the first heaven down on earth. That's the most important to us. Just like it's the most important sin, the sin of the first sin of Adam, because it took the Shechina away from us. The fact that it's going from Rakia from the first heaven to the 2nd heaven, 3rd heaven, doesn't bother us as much as the leaving of this world. Likewise, coming back to this world is the most important return. The fact that it's going down from 7 to 6, 6 to 5, doesn't compare to what Moshe Rabbeinu accomplished to finally bring the Shechina down to earth, where the awareness of Hashem is easy to access. That's what it means when we say the Shechina came down here. We feel His presence. The Iker Gili Alakos, where is the primary place of Hashem's abode? The Beis Hamikdash. Tichsev, for it is written, "Va'asuli Mikdash, a sanctuary, v'shachanti b'socham, and I will dwell within them." Within them, it should have said within it. There's only one Mishkan. B'socho, nonetheless, it does not say singular. B'socho in it, in the Mishkan. Lo nemar, it is not said b'socho, ela b'socham. Why? Because we're really referring to everyone's private Mishkan. Every single Jew is a Mishkan. In fact, it says, not here, it says in I think from the Barbanel, he writes that the Mishkan, or the Beis Hamikdash, is an extension of the fact that it could be a house that can house Hashem, is because It's an extension of the Jewish soul. The fact that every Jew is a miniature Mishkan, that spreads into a physical structure. The real Mishkan is in us. And the Mishkan, the building of a Mishkan, physical body structure, a house, a tent or house, that's an extension of the fact that every Jew is a Mishkan. That's really where it starts. It starts within us. B'soch kol echad v'yechad. He says, B'soch kol echad v'echad. He could have just said, B'soch kol echad, in the midst of every individual. Echad v'echad. That means, regardless of who you think you are, man, woman, child, old, young, besides that, a great scholar, mediocre, someone who's never learned a word of Yiddishkeit, barely knows they're Jewish, it doesn't make a difference who you are. The soul kol echad, every type of person, not just every person, every type of person, even a person who's done everything wrong in their lives, there is a mishkan inside of you, and that's who you really are. That's the real you. That's who you are. That's your identity. It's part of your DNA. You can't stop it. Nothing can stop that. Obviously includes also converts, no question about that as well. Okay. So he says further, Zehu tzadikim hirshu oretz. This is a pasuk in Tanakh. Tzadikim, the simple meaning is very different from the way the Mimer explains it. Tzadikim, which refers to all Jews, hirshu oretz, will inherit the land, referring to Eretz Yisrael. V'yishkenu lo'ad oleho, and they will dwell forever upon it. How does he translate this pasuk in the Mimer? Quite different. The tzadikim hirshu oretz. Earth here refers to Gan Eden. It's called Earth. Why is it called Earth? Anyone know why would Gan Eden be called Earth? Gan Eden is a very high madrega. It's holy. Why would you call that Earth? Rabbi Greenberg explain it? You're learning the Bible with him, right? Did he explain it? Give any commentary on that? Anyone know?
Not that I remember.
Okay. It's actually the spiritual counterpart of Eretz Yisrael. Yisrael is a holy land in this world, and its spiritual counterpart is Gan Eden, where there's also a spiritual base Hamikdash there. But another reason, the word Eretz means a land, but Eretz also sounds like Rutz or Rutzon, a land that gives you the feeling of wanting to do what Hashem wants, the feeling of running, Rutz and Rutzon, running to do God's will. That feeling obviously is in Gan Eden, much more than down here. So not the idea of earth so much as it is the idea of Rutz and Rutzon. So anyways, Tzaddikim, Jewish people will inherit Gan Eden. Things like this. They cause to dwell, mashkinim, like the word shchina is the etymological word. Shchina. Mashkinim means they cause to dwell, meaning they trigger, they bring down, they elicit, draw the shchina. Mamshichin b'china shochin ad. What does it mean when we say v'yishkinu la'ad? The simple meaning is they dwell forever. They will dwell forever on the land. The Mimer explains that why will they have the reward of Gan Eden? Because they were the ones that caused to dwell ad. What does ad mean? That which is eternal. The word ad can sometimes mean eternal. So v'yishkinu, they caused to dwell that which is eternal, i.e. God himself, on the land. Because they are the ones that throughout their lifetime brought the Shechina down. The Shechina is hinted in the words, Bechina shoychein ad marim b'kodesh. This is a pasuk that we say every Shabbos in the davening. Bechina shoychein ad, the one who dwells ad forever. Like olam va'ed, ad means here forever. The exalted one and the holy one, marim b'kodesh. So because they are the ones that bring the infinite God down on earth, therefore they will also merit Gan Eden. The word la'ad does not mean forever. It means God, who is here forever and is eternal. Because they bring God down here on earth, therefore they will merit to have Gan Eden. So they cause Hashem's presence to be revealed, on the next page 10, should be revealed down here in this world. Zehu basi lagami, and this is the understanding of the word. I have come to my garden, likanuni, to my bridal chamber, to the place where my primary, most foremost divine presence was here at first. The Iker Shechina, for the essence of the Shechina, not the Shechina itself, the essence of the Shechina was in this lowly world at the very beginning. It left because of the sins. The Iker Shechina b'tachtainim haisa. The Iker Shechina b'tachtainim haisa. Now he explains what it means. What do we mean by saying the Iker Shechina was in this world? Now, to explain this, the ultimate purpose. Tachlis means the ultimate, kavana, purpose, goal. Bibrias, in the creation. And the bringing into existence of all the world is, as we all know, God had a taiva, a passion, desire to have his home down here in this world. Not just that he had a desire to be here, he had a desire that we should build a home for him. He didn't want to impose to have a home, but he wanted the home to be built by people like us and through simple people who have struggles in life. And the more you struggle and you overcome all the temptations to do what's wrong, the more you build a house for Hashem. So again, the dwelling place, the desire of Hashem's time is not just to be here, it's to be here through us introducing him and inviting him here. He doesn't want to impose upon us. That's not called a house. You don't feel at home when you're forcing yourself into someone's home. He wants to be welcome to the extent that we believe he belongs here. And how do we do that? By showing that no matter how we feel about mitzvahs, about Judaism, what kind of mood we're in, we overcome all temptations. We follow and we feel that that what he wants is what counts in our lives. That's what makes him feel at home here. So it's through our hard work. Remember, a garden is not something you can just sit back and you have to work on it. You have to keep on planting and plowing and planting and planting. It might take a long time to see the trees. It can take years. But you don't give up. You plant and you'll see a beautiful orchard. It might be very difficult. There's struggles in life. People go through a lot of struggles and challenges. But every challenge that you pass is planting a seed, and in years down the road, maybe less, you will see a beautiful orchard. Don't give up on yourself. Never give up. That's a famous word. Yes, but then we have some story with the Egel. It says the Chet Egel introduced back to it's not the same, even though we forget everything, it's not the same. Once you've already had the experience, it's never the same. It'll always be a lot easier. Never text the don't think I have to do something that's brand new. First of all, when God created the world, he already had that mission in mind, and he made it possible for us to accomplish it. Then Moshe Rabbeinu brought it down, even though we've had some obstacles and some ups and downs, and a lot of downs, at the Egel and some other. The fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was most dear of all the leaders, there will be another Moshe Rabbeinu in the seventh generation from the Alter Rebbe. Make it happen. The Rebbe was indicating that. The Rebbe said that the leader of the generation is the generation, I'll ask you in a second, and the leader of the generation is the Mashiach of the generation. And he said there's no other generation between this generation and Mashiach. So I don't know if I should be saying this, but if you add 2 plus 2 plus 2, it's 6. The Rebbe doesn't go around saying who I am. Everything is through Torah. I don't have any doubts of who the leader of the generation is now. I don't know anybody, that qualifies as the leader of the generation. He's clearly stated that all the Chabad Rebbeim were the Mashiach of their generation. He said that. And the Rebbe is a Chabad Rebbe, even though he always considered himself just to be, under the previous Rebbe. He referred to the previous Rebbe as the Rebbe, which is very, very interesting because the greatest innovator relative to previous generations was the Rebbe versus the previous Rebbe. All the other Rebbeim pretty much similar. The Rebbe's way of going about things was totally different, completely different. And yet, of all the Rebbes, the one who was most like an extension of the previous, and yet their relationship to the previous was a lot closer, seemingly a lot similar. Rebbe's, the whole this idea of the Rebbe's, speaking to the world. There's so many things to talk about, but it's so different than because some of the older Hasidim of the previous Rebbeim couldn't relate to the Rebbe. It was so different. They just couldn't relate to this. Like it wasn't the previous generation. Okay, he was a little younger, but his, generation before my father, they really couldn't relate to the Rebbe's change. Seemed like more modern, but there's no Streimel, no this, regular hat. I was once asked, I should not be taking time out of my mind, was asked, what about, where's, how many Chassidim you would have? You know how many Chassidim you would have if you would wear a Streimel? All the pilots of Chassidim would become your Chassidim. The Rebbe responded, and how many, I think he mentioned Bnei Akiva, would I lose by wearing a Streimel? The Rebbe wanted to be a Rebbe to connect to everybody. So he wore the hat, brim down. But the Rebbe never referred to himself as a Rebbe. Never. Hint. Be alone. Let me create a woman. Why do you have to give an excuse why he's creating a woman? Was someone challenging Hashem? When he created the sun, he didn't say, it's not enough for the sun to be around. Let me create a moon too. Only when it comes to man and woman did he say, Loi toiv, it's not good for a man to be alone. I need to create a woman. Who's threatening you? What do you have to answer for? Just create a woman. The answer is the idea of marriage, of husband, wife, man and woman, is not only because I can't cook, I need a woman. Men can't do a lot of things. Women could. And women also can't do certain things. They need a husband. That's not why you marry. Why do you marry? Because Hashem created the idea of how great you are, how perfect you are, he created the idea that being alone is never good. That's how holy marriage is. It's not based on, well, I have needs, I'm missing this, missing that. Was God missing anything? And he still desired to have otherness, to have companionship, to have tachtoinim like us, to introduce him. Not that it makes sense to us, we can't make sense out of it. But one thing we know, this is what he wanted. So that's why when Hashem said it's not good for man to be alone, he created the idea, no matter how great you are, how perfect you are, never think of being alone as a good thing. It's always good to have companionship. It wasn't giving an excuse. Please, you might not like my idea of creating a woman, so I'm going to tell you it's not good for a man to be alone. He wasn't doing that. He was saying that by me saying it's not good for a man to be alone, not good for a man, it's like me, my God himself, created the idea Just like it wasn't good for me to be alone, that's how you should feel in a marriage. It's impossible to be on your own. You have to two become like one. Okay, and he says here, what does it mean? Through subjugation, suppressing your ego, your will, and then transforming it. Now, there's two levels of iskafia. I don't know if this was taught to you. Two levels of iskafia, two levels of iskafia. The primary simple understanding of iskafia is that your mind says. So your heart says, come on, enjoy life. And you win the battle. I don't really want it. I can't stand doing this, but I will do it. Kabbalah soul. That's simple, very simple level of iskafia. And ishapcha would mean that you really want to do what's right. Simple as it. There's a higher level of iskafia, which sounds like the ishapcha. Iskafia on a higher level means that I want to do what's right. Why? My mind brainwashed my heart. I meditated in the greatness of God. I couldn't help saying, wow. But I needed my mind to brainwash me. It was not a natural first, a knee-jerk reaction from the heart. The heart, by nature, still wants other things more. But for the moment, my mind has brainwashed my heart. Now my heart is saying, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I do want to have a relationship with the one above. So now, iskafia is much deeper now. Why is it called iskafia? Because your first nature is to want the enjoyment of this world. The mind has forced your heart to want what's right. Not just I'm doing what's right, I'm wanting what's right. My heart wants, but not naturally. Ishapcha would mean on this level, it became the first nature. My heart does not need to be brainwashed by my mind. The heart wants to do what's right, which is a much higher madrega. It's like a Beinoni. That naturally, my inclination is to do what Hashem wants. I don't need to meditate on it. I don't need meditation. It goes without saying that whatever Hashem wants, I naturally want. That's ishapcha. Iskafia would mean my mind had to force my heart to want. That's the more sophisticated level of iskafia. The simple level of iskafia means my heart doesn't want it all, but I force myself to do it. The higher level of iskafia is I want to, but I was made to want. Ishapcha means I didn't have to be made to want. It's natural. So we have run out of time. But at least we learned something. I didn't expect to learn too much, but I talk too much. I have a problem with that, as you all know. So we'll stop here. There's a lot more to learn. Have a powerful Yud Shvat is a very holy day. Huh? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot all about you.
Is it not even more that much remarkable that the will come back down to this world because of the actions that we do, as opposed to the first time the Shekhinah was put in
Yes,
the
of
Bible
course.
then?
Yes. Rabbi says that in the Maimer that the greatest level of Shekhinah coming down is when we simple people, we're not Moshe Rabbeinu, and through our own avodah, without having to, become tzaddikim, we still serve Hashem under such challenges and struggles. This is the greatest, much greater than how things were before the first sin. And that's why Mashiach comes through us, can come then. Because Mashiach is the ultimate end of all times. No goals anymore. When you know that? When people like us, in spite of all the challenges, overcome it, we transcend ourselves. That's what iskafia is. You transcend yourself, put yourself aside. That's the ultimate. So we're not just little midgets standing on giant shoulders. In fact, we have something they don't have. That is the ability to overcome challenges that they didn't have as much as we had. We have more challenges in this generation than all the generations put together. The challenges, because we're on and Moshe Rabbeinu saw this generation. He went, wow, I'm so humbled. He was wowed by this generation. He foresaw the end of time. Yes.
So in your opinion, what do you think?
I have no opinions.
Well, that you've learned, what is the main focus of Yud Shvat and Masay Lagani? What should we be meditating or taking away the core from?
Well, the two parts of the Maimer: never stopping, Yosef, adding, never being satisfied with your past accomplishments, which is what Yosef stands for, and never limiting yourself to one place, dealing with all kinds of people, all situations, feeling that you have to spread Yiddishkeit to all places in the world. Why the Rebbe made printed Tanyas all over the world. Every single location where the Jews, there's a Tanya printed in Gaza now. And Yitzchak, Simcha, joy, not postponing things that you can do now. And Yosef Yitzchak, keep on adding in your Simcha. Let the Yosef be a Yosef Yitzchak, adding in joy. And Yitzchak Yosef, when you're continuously adding, do that with joy. The two names are related to each other. I happen to know that. All right. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Yud Shvat, a meaningful Yud Shvat, and Yud Shvat is no less. Yud Shvat, on a personal note, is also very important to me because my wife's accident happened on Yud Shvat. On the way back from a chasana, the night of Yud Shvat, a miracle happened and she's around, still here. So Yud Shvat was whatever. I'll talk about it another time. But it's never became a Nasi. I'm finished.
Next class is on the second floor, second level. Oh, downstairs? Okay,
What was the seventh sin?
thank you for that. It was on the Egyptians and how
The Egyptians and Abu
that, if I'm not mistaken. Hi, I'm going to the next class, and I can talk for a little bit, or I can talk for 5 minutes. Yeah. Wait, no, it's a short term there. Like now, but it's hard to get there. It's downstairs.
I'm doing it now, that's true.
How are you? Oh, we picked up the boys yet? No. Yeah, blue, but very good deal.
The classes are bundled.
Yeah, blue has very good deal. Jack blue. Yeah. Yeah. No, but they're very well known. I always see the adverts, Jack blue holidays. No, it's jet blue. Yeah.